you're helping me peel away things. I think the first time I was just in tears, several times actually, and you were helping me go through something, and that shows your experience of asking your own questions that you've done to yourself, because you relayed that over to me, and it took me time to go through. Changing gears a bit, you've had quite the journey, and I want to talk about a very prolific author, spiritual leader that you've actually worked with. So why don't you tell us who that is, and how did you come about being in his circle?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of funny how it came about being in his circle, because it started with a dating app. But it really has nothing to do, it has everything to do with that. But so I'll start with the dating app. So I had just come back from India, and some of my friends were saying, and when I was leaving India, it came through. I had been there for practicing yoga, and the message I was coming home with was, get comfortable with saying yes. And it's not like you say yes to everything, but when you feel, because your intuition grows, when you're saying no because, something really doesn't feel right, or saying no because you are resisting something. You're not wanting to
I love
deeper.
The build-up, by the way, because we haven't said his name yet. This is great. Continue. Let's see if we can stretch this out for 20 minutes.
So my friend said, you should really get on the dating apps. It's kind of time for you to meet somebody. and I my initial response was like, no, I don't.
It's not organic. No, it's not spiritual.
I want it to be all natural.
Of course you do. Of course, Candise.
But that was my mind telling me, like, well, these are all the reasons why I shouldn't, da-da-da. And then, but then I remembered, okay, there's something there. I'm going to say yes. I just felt it. So I said yes. The first guy I met, I could say his name, Randy.
So many Randys out there, so we don't know.
Such a nice guy. But right away, he was like, because he knew I was vegan and he wasn't. And he was like, well, what's going to happen? And this is like first phone call. What's going to happen if we go to the bar? What's going to happen if we want to go out for dinner? Like all these things. And it was actually quite hilarious. We were laughing. Like I was crying on the other, like it's just too good. And so we realized it was like, okay, he like talked me out of wanting to date him, but we still met anyways. But in the short of the long, I met him, and then a couple months later, I hadn't seen him for a couple months, and he emails me and he says, or texts me, I'm sitting next to a woman at the coffee shop who is looking for a personal assistant for her dad. And he says, you might know him. He's a famous yogi. And I'm thinking, I don't know any famous yogis in Vancouver. I mean, I know like awesome yogis, but like famous. He said, can I pass on your contact? I said, sure. And then I get an email from an email address, Eckhart Tolle teachings. And I'm like, oh yes, he is a famous yogi. He's the famous yogi.
He's the yogi.
He's the yogi. Which, a little side note, 4 years earlier, my mom had met him on the street, and she invited him to dinner, and he said, well, he's going to Oprah's that weekend, so he couldn't come. But she said to me, she looked at me and she said, you're going to work for him one day. And it just went over my head. I didn't even think anything of it. I just kind of was like, oh, like whatever, And, oh, Mom.
Your mom's your biggest fan. I'm second.
And then, and so I just knew, like, there are these signs, you know, along the way, if we pay attention, that are always guiding us. And so I really felt that energy in this moment. And so I ended up getting the job, and I worked for him and his family, and I absolutely loved it. They're, I mean, Secartoles. And Kim and Aaron, and there was a lot to learn from that experience too.
And how long did you work with them?
Just over a year. Yes, just over a year.
Is there something? What did you take from
that?
Yeah.
Well, I took many things. There was a lot of teachings there. One of the main things was, I loved working with them, and it was a really great opportunity. But in my deep down, I knew that the work I wanted to do or was meant to do was also calling. And so there was a bit of a conflict, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm working for Eckhart Tolle and his family, and like, you know, there's like, ooh, look at me, you know.
I don't think of you like that, Candise.
No, I know, but there is, you know, there are those pieces within, and
who knows? Maybe he was saying, "I'm working with Candise."
Yeah, probably. And so, but I had to move beyond that, and which was like honoring then the next step, which was that time gave me clarity to then move into my next work, which was when I started doing Thai yoga massage.